Hi guys! Today's video we are going to paint these adorable flamingo. I'm going to use this watercolor palette by Grabby as always. I'm going to use my set of Grabby paintbrushes and a number 14 round from Master's Touch, and I also use a couple of these brushes from this set that I purchased recently. Let's get going. Okay, so as you can see, I already washed in a background. So I taped off my page as usual because I really love those crisp white borders that happen when you pull the tape off at the end. So I washed in a background of metallic yellow in sort of a diagonal fashion so it could kind of be like sun rays. And I put the base of the foliage in also with a metallic green. And now I'm just filling in my sketch. I sketched out the flamingos and I'm putting in their base pink. But what you'll see is that I end up using some reds, some oranges, because flamingos, we always think like pink flamingos, and yes, they're pink, but are they? I mean, they're really almost orange. When you see them in person, they're kind of like a corally color. So we will add some orange in for these guys. What I thought was kind of meaningful about this sketch process for these two birds, my daughter actually pointed it out. She said it's nice that they're not just in the exact same position facing each other. We've got one that you see its side profile, and then this one is more sort of walking toward the viewer. So you're seeing the girth of his body, and that's just kind of adorable. So I'm filling in the sketch with feathery brushstrokes because, I mean, they're birds, so we need to make sure it's wispy and feathery. And we're putting in that base pink with full intention of adding orange and some red. And now I'm sort of defining the outer edges of the body because it looked too smooth and it didn't have the feathery, wispy outside. So I added that in, and then I used a clean brush to sort of pick up the pink in the middle so that it gave him like a roundness to his body. And now I'm using a little bit darker of like a reddish pink, a little bit darker, just for a first initial shadow. First initial shadows going in. I'm gonna just blend that in because it's still wet. And define some of those feathers. I love watercolor because the blending is just, specifically when you're watercoloring birds, it just is like birds. And then also recently, the fish that I painted, it's beautiful to let the watercolor blend naturally to make a feather look or a fish scale look, as it were in my last painting. So I'm brushing these in, but it's not 100% dry yet, so they're gonna bleed out and give that sort of feathery look, and I love that. And I'm using that darker pink so that we've got some shadow going in. And now I'm going to add in the orange and let it sort of blend together to create that flamingo, like signature flamingo corally color. I just love how it's already blending so nicely. Love it. see how they're not in exactly the same position, and it kind of gives a organic, kind of natural meetup. Like they just happened upon each other. And if you're noticing that their necks, their head and their necks are creating a heart, it's intentional. It is not escaping you that a heart is starting to form. And we're putting little knee-knocked legs in there. And then, of course, it's a flamingo, so we need to have, him standing on one leg, like one bent leg. That's important. Put his little bulbous knees in there. I couldn't decide for this painting whether I wanted their feet to be underwater or if I wanted to paint the feet. So I really was like leaving it last because I was like, am I going to do water? Am I going to make it them standing on the ground? Because flamingo feet, let's just be real, they're cute. They're cute. And I didn't actually paint the foot that's out of the water there until the very, very end. Now we're going to put the little the telltale black tip of the nose so that you know it's flamingo. And then just a clean brush to sort of blend it and drag that gray to create the, and then pick it up again so you've got more white. Look at the heart. It's cliche and a little corny to have them create a heart, but also, I mean, we're close to Valentine's Day, and Valentine's Day was really the inspiration for this painting. So I have to ask for forgiveness for the corny heart. So when I paint with the metallics, it's always sort of tricky because depending on where I put my overhead lights, sometimes the glare happens and you can't really see what I'm painting. It's kind of funny. The metallic causes that reflection and glare. So now I'm realizing that I probably should have painted in the water first and then dropped in their little legs, because now I'm trying to paint around their legs in order to not drag that pink into the water, and it's challenging to say the least. So hopefully if you're watching this or if you are painting along with me, you realized that and you're like, I'm not gonna paint the legs in before the water, Sarah, that would be crazy. Yeah. So, do as I say, not as I do. Because really, I mean, what was I even doing? I am loving also painting the water in with the metallic, because then it's kind of shiny like water would be glistening in the sun, and I love that effect. If you're painting with me or thinking about painting and you're wondering always like, why is she talking about metallics all the time? This palette that I love, I fell in love with it. I bought watercolor tubes that you put down and then you mix your colors and all of that. But then I started using this palette and I absolutely fell in love with it. I now have three of this palette, because I feel like once you paint with metallic watercolor, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like now if I tried to paint without the option, I would just be bored. I don't know. I would just be bored. So now we're going to drop in the little lotus flowers. And because it's pink and I already dropped in the water, I'm telling you guys, I never claimed to be perfect or even 100%, professional with my art. And, probably I should have done this differently, but what I decided to do was paint in a base color for these flowers with a very wet pink, and then dab it off with a towel, with a paper towel, in order to pick up the paint and also pick up the background, because I'm painting it in afterward. Sometimes you just gotta go with it. Just, do what works for you. And that is what is working for me right now. I'm gonna let that dry a little bit. Now I'm going back into the black, and I'm dotting in the little eyeballs. And suddenly, just like when I painted the hippo or when I painted the capybara, as soon as an animal that I'm painting has his eyeball, it's like, oh, they've come to life. I love it. I love the stage of adding the eyeball. And even though these eyeballs at this point are just little dots, and they'll always be just little dots, they really just give it life. So now it's time to start working in this foliage. And here's where I have to say I am far from perfect. I think traditional watercolor technique would say that I should drop in the color and let it happen. And then boom, it's done, don't touch it again. That didn't happen today. You're gonna see me go back into these leaves, like 50 times. It just didn't happen today. I was using a lot of different colors because that's what I was wanting. I was wanting not just different layers of the same color, but I was wanting some different greens all in there. And it just, sometimes it just happens beautifully right away, just how you intended, like with the birds. So I intended to drop the base pink and then drop some red and then drop some orange, and it worked out beautifully. It blended. It's what I intended, and it worked. With the foliage, not so much, you guys. I was like, these just look like blobs. This is not looking like leaves at all. And so I feel as though I fought with the foliage part of this painting quite a bit. So if you're painting with me, allow yourself some grace if you struggle at all with any part of it, really. It's art and it's painting, so you should always allow yourself some grace because it's art. And sometimes just has to happen the way it has to happen. So now I think it's interesting to note that this is the fourth leaf that I'm painting, and I'm learning as I go. I'm like, oh, if I just do this and leave it, it's going to be better than if I keep going in and messing with it a bunch. And that just backs up my belief and what I always say about if you're wanting to be a better or a more effective painter, paint often. Because just inside this painting, going from looking at my first leaf and then looking at my last leaf, I got better as you go. Look at my top one that looks crazy. And then the next one is like, and then it gets a little bit better. And then the last one is great. So just whatever you are trying to master in life, just do it every day. The more you do it, the better it will get. I prove it. I swear, I feel like I prove that in my life all the time. So now I'm just taking that pink that I dabbed off. So now I can use that same pink as my shadow or the depth because I had dabbed it off. So it was just real light. I'm just brushing in, and then I'll pick up the centers so that it's light in the center. Every one of my paintings has things I don't love and things that I feel worked nicely. And every time I paint, I learn something about my process. And really, that's all we can ask for, because there's no wrong painting really, and there's no perfect painting really. So we can just practice and practice. So I'm just trying to define each little petal of these lotus flowers. And I love that they're pink and the flamingos are pink. I love pink. I think that's obvious. I don't think anybody would be shocked to hear that. I think I've painted lotus flowers maybe one other time. So I'm working it out. So now my hand's just straight in the way, you guys. I'm sorry about that, but I'm just taking a very light hand and I'm just painting in like the wispy little kind of willowy leaves, like stringy leaves that are coming down. That's my attempt here is to kind of give it a tropical feel, like they're just in this like little tropical area that's, an opening, like where there's tropical all over. And of course I'm putting shadow. You guys, look at that. Look at the difference between those lily pads before shadow and after shadows. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I'm trying to put the reflection of the pink in the water below the flowers. I don't want it to be like super strong. I just want it, because the water would reflect the pink flowers. I'm just trying to give the appearance that that's water. And that's a good way of doing it, by putting reflection. Now I'm just going to wash in some more color in the water here and there. Some browns and then some blue. Just try to make it come to life a little bit. Making it deeper in color, like closer to the viewer, and then blend up and be more pastel as it goes further into the distance is a really fun way to create perspective. Looks like I have my light over to the right, and I'm causing this shadow that's just not helping you see what I'm doing. But you can see the result is this. I'm just using a very fine tip brush and a light hand just to add those kind of hanging down stringy leaves that to me say tropical. Oh my goodness, these birds are just so cute. I'm trying to take a darker color and define the shadow around the leaves, around the feathers, and around the neck. Really, I think I could have stopped here with the feathers. But I decided that I wanted it to have a brighter look to it. And I'm just trying to get another layer into those legs so they don't just look one-dimensional. I love the little like awkward legs. They're like sort of knees together. So cute. So now I'm going to mix white Posca paint with pink. So this isn't white necessarily. It's a very light pink. And I just wanted some lighter feathers in there. I just felt like it needed, like these birds needed some lighter feathers in there. So that's what's happening. So they could look fluffy. I wanted them to look fluffy. And look, it just gives them like some little dimension and little fluffiness. I love it. Love it. And I'm just took a clean wet brush to blend that out a little bit because I didn't want them to be such harsh strokes. When I incorporate the Posca paint in, sometimes the strokes are harsh because it doesn't act like watercolor. It acts like Posca paint. And if this is the first video you've ever watched me paint and you're like, what's a Posca paint? They're just pens. They're paint pens, and I order white ones. It's Posca, P-O-S-C-A, and I will link a Posca pen, a white one, in the description of this channel of this video, so you can get one if you want. A lot of watercolor artists will use white gouache paint for their light, more opaque paint, but I love using white Posca paint because it just allows me to highlight when I need to. So now I'm just going to add some more little touches using that white Posca paint to highlight the leaves. And just, this is the point of the painting when I just sort of look around and decide what needs a highlight, or do I need a little shadow here? Do I need to add, some more variants of green into the grass, or just little touches. It's that point of the painting when you think, okay, the magic is in the details. So I'm looking around and like, how can I make this aspect a little bit more detailed, or put a little bit darker shadow in to make something pop. I really appreciate you painting with me today, and I will see you in the next painting. If you haven't subscribed yet and you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing so you don't miss our next painting.